ISPs are combating the ever-growing needs of the internet with metered web and bandwidth throttling and other actions that go against the notion of net neutrality. So, is it wrong for these companies to regulate what we access, or is this a necessary evil to maintain some decent speeds for everyone? With internet users demanding more and more from the web, internet service providers are finding themselves struggling with the principles of net neutrality and a free and open internet for all. ISPs are having to increasingly engage in traffic throttling, which can slow down internet speeds for everyone from peer-to-peer downloaders to gamers to people streaming Netflix movies. ISPs claim selective throttling is necessary to provide everyone decent bandwidth and prevent congestion. But some claim these companies may be throttling certain services to make sites they have a stake in faster and therefore more attractive. Is bandwidth throttling here to stay? And if ISPs stop throttling, would the alternative be widespread internet censorship? Saving the internet, it's The Loop. All right, joining me from New York to help us make sense of it all, senior writer for Wired Magazine, Daniel Roth is here. How are you, Daniel?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Before we begin, for the sake of full disclosure, I do want to say that G4's parent company is Comcast, who has been linked to bandwidth throttling in the past. But as of right now, what's the state of internet bandwidth throttling? I mean, how widespread has this become? Is everybody affected by this, or is it still just small pockets across the country?
Well, in the U.S., it's pretty small pockets. You're seeing it pop up in a lot of different places. A lot of smaller ISPs who are dealing with a lot of problems with people doing P2P downloading, P2P uploading, a lot of web video, increasing the amount of traffic on some of their pipes. In other countries, it's much worse than it is in the U.S., but you're definitely seeing it here. There's no question that some of the ISPs are trying to figure out how to serve up all this data to the people who want it, but without having to lay more expensive pipes into the ground. Right.
Daniel, are they targeting the markets that need it the most, or are they just testing it out in smaller markets before they roll it out nationwide? What do you think the future of this is going to be?
You know, it's actually hard to tell because no one really announces when they're doing throttling. The only way you can find out is when someone posts something, you get a tweet that says, hey, my Comcast is slowed down. Is anyone else's problem? Or I'm seeing with Time Warner, suddenly I'm not getting this, I'm not able to download this program. What's going on? People are saying, this is happening to me, this is happening to me also, and suddenly people in a certain neighborhood, a certain area are realizing that something odd is going on. And you might find throttling that way. But it's not an easy thing to tell, and it's not like the ISP say, we're throttling now.
Well, and why are they throttling? I mean, let's get their excuse or their explanation, if you will, for why they're throttling versus what you think they might be doing this for.
The reason why they say they're doing it is because they have a lot of people who are consuming a lot more media than they had expected. And one of the big problems with the way that the internet services are provided, the way that internet comes to your home is that it comes down in a giant fat pipe, but it goes back up to the internet service providers in a real small little pipe.
Right.
And when you have something like with P2P, where you're downloading huge files and uploading them at the same time, it screws up the entire way the network is configured. And they say they have to put this throttling in place so that they don't have, so that everyone can have access to the internet, basically.
Right. Now,
that's their excuse.
So I hear this, and I understand it makes it sound like we are just this, you know, here in the U.S. we are just this superpower of broadband just dominating the world because we've just got so much access and these big pipes, but these tiny upstreams. And then every report I see that talks about the rest of the world, the U.S. is right down below, you know, like we're ranked 15th or 27th. It all depends on which study you look at. What are other countries doing, and how do we rate in terms of broadband performance to the rest of the world?
We rate pretty poorly compared to the rest of the world. Now, the rest of the world, there are certain advantages they have. For instance, a lot of times they are broadband infrastructure is seen as a government policy. It's important for the government to say this country needs to have very fast broadband speeds.
Right.
In the U.S., that largely has not been important, so you've had companies who have been providing this, and Comcast, Time Warner, Verizon, and for them, this is a business. So they want to be able to offer as fast a speeds as they need to with spending as little money
as necessary, of course.
Exactly.
And I know some people point to the solution of, well, what about caps? Why don't we just limit the amount of bandwidth you can transfer in a month, and then we don't have to throttle it. Use as much as you want, as fast as you want, and then we charge you for overages. Doesn't that seem dangerous? Are other countries doing that, and what sort of results are they having?
You know, a lot of other countries have caps in place, and the U.S. has not had caps until recently. You're starting to see caps show up in the U.S. right now. which goes against the trend in the rest of the world, unfortunately. But caps are probably the way that the internet is moving. The days of the all-you-can-eat internet, I think, are going to be done in a few years. You're going to see caps showing up. Well, some places have very small caps that you're going to blow through in a YouTube user, an average YouTube user is going to blow through in 15 days. But other ISPs have huge caps that really no one's going to get through until you start downloading HD movies all the time
Right.
to your computer.
Or until you start paying $1,000 a month for your internet connection, which we're going to move to as well. Daniel, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've run out of bandwidth on our satellite now, and they're going to start charging us. But we appreciate you keeping us in the loop. Thank you so much.